Today on TKY Weekly, I talk about the difference between your OEM computers and your Pro modders and how it relates to workload, performance, reliability, and increase of speed. My name is Steve Smith, this is TQA Weekly, and if ever you have any tech questions, comments, suggestions, and or PC horror stories, you can always email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go to my website, tqaweekly.com, and use the contact form, or if you're watching on one of the many websites I post every week, use the comments box on this page. This episode of TQA Weekly is brought to you by ProXPN. ProXPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymously and without oversight. For 20% off your new account, go to proxpn.com/podcast and use a coupon code TQAWEE. That helps the show out a lot. Thanks. Today's topic is all about what is better, integrated or dedicated sound cards, graphics cards in relation to the motherboard. Now, obviously, there'll be a hot debates on some weird issues and different discrepancies in information, so I'm going to put it all out there. I'm comparing the difference between OEM and custom-built computers. So the first thing you need to remember is most OEM boards use a single chip, the CPU, or maybe even the APU in the future, to process graphics, the CPU processing load normal to computers and Windows and whatever, and sound. While this is good for those who do Facebook, that do light gaming, that actually do some tasks like word processing, Excel, Access, maybe web dev, or even some other tax-like function, it's not necessarily good for those higher-end tasks. If you want to be a sound engineer, if you want to be able to do film editing on your computer, at least large video, and if you're interested in actually gaming, you may want a better computer, and this will help you out with what you may need. So first things first, power supplies. I've talked about this before, and it is the heart of the computer, and 80 plus power supplies that are modular are what I've always suggested to people, and I have them in my own computer. They have less cables, they'll actually cause fewer issues because they have less cables, and they're better built. They're all individually tested, and the power supply in an OEM is a cheap from the line, several tested but not all, which means we do have the issue of maybe the workload will be too hot for the power supply and it may give out. That's not actually good for you. Now, let's go into what I was referring to for this episode. Let's talk about sound. You have integrated sound. Some of you may still have Windows 7. I absolutely hate the interface of Windows 8, especially on a desktop. And even if I had 6 billion different tactile screens around me, I'm pretty sure the other screens wouldn't work anyway. So, with regards to the sound card under Windows 7, if you're running Realtek or SoundMax, you may have had bizarre issues happening to you. These are issues that are related to Windows, that are related to the way the architecture of those sound cards are working with Windows, and they do cause some of the weirdest problems in history. Not to mention they do sound like crap. Honestly, if you have a good pair of headsets and you plug it into that, you may not get what you were actually paying for from your headset, so you might as well go to the next thing. Now, if you get to choose your motherboard, you get to pick what kind of sound card's in it. You can go and get an Asus ROG board that has integrated Zonar sound card, or even attachable Zonar sound card that allows you to get a better quality sound out of it. You can go the same line as me, go with another company like Creative and get a Sound Blaster sound card from like the Z series, not the bottom one, but the middle or higher, because the capacitors are better and you'll get a better sound out of it. And of course, you can go USB and actually get an external sound card that actually does all the work outside of the computer. Which one's better? I would say anything that takes the time to process the sound themselves. If the onboard sound card is of good quality and has its own processor, it is going to already be better than that dedicated processor handling all the sound at the same time. Whereas a dedicated processor for the sound does all that work and the CPU doesn't do it at all anymore. The same does hold true for the graphics card, although the graphics card either is built into it or it's slotted in as an add-on card. You don't really get to USB those screens, not just yet, and those lines are still not fast enough to do that. So in the case of the GPU, the same holds true for that. Anything the CPU or APU in that case won't have to handle will save it from undue wear and tear and allow the computer to do more at the same time by allowing the graphics card to actually do the work. In the case of the graphics card, cooling is important, power is important, memory is important, memory speed is important, number of chips is important, and most specifically, the power is important, making sure that you plug all the power cords into it from the power supply, because you don't want to actually break it before you actually use it in the middle of a game. Making sure that you read the instructions of those graphics cards is very important. In that case, what is better? It's always going to be, for at least several years, is what I'm going to be predicting, that having your own dedicated graphics card will be better than having an integrated graphics card, especially if we are referring to your towers and even some of your gaming laptops, where they do have dedicated GPUs. They may not be detachable GPUs like in our towers, but they are dedicated GPUs that are mobile, that are specifically designed for those tasks. And in that case, you might have realized that your higher end computer does in fact have a CPU handling most of the operating system load, a sound card with a sound processing chip handling all the sound, and a graphics card with graphics processing units actually handling the graphics load. This is the distinct difference between the OEM computers that are baseline and the higher end computers that pro modders use that actually do play and do everything that we ask. So all you have to remember is the more chips, the better it is, but of course you're going to be paying more. So for those that actually want to read everything I wrote, you always have the ability to go and see the show notes. They're available at tqaweekly.com/SE4EP06. And of course, everything you need to know is right there. Of course, if you have any other questions, comments, suggestions, or stories, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go down below and use the comments box if you're watching on one of the many websites, or if you're already on my website, use the contact form and select which episode you are referring. Now on to a word from our advertiser, ProXPN. Now more than ever, your online freedom and privacy are under threat. Governments and ISPs want to control what you can or cannot see while keeping a record of everything you do, plus that free Wi-Fi at the coffee house or airport terminal is putting you at risk because your passwords and sensitive data can be intercepted more easily than you might think. ProXPN is a global VPN that works with almost any internet connection. It creates a secure, encrypted tunnel through which all your online data passes back and forth. Any online application can work with ProXPN, including your web browser, email, file sharing, and instant messaging programs. ProXPN keeps everything you do online hidden from prying eyes, disguising your physical location and giving you unfeathered access to any website or online service, no matter where you live or travel to. Has complete online privacy with a 48-bit encryption key, 512-bit encryption tunnel, works with OpenVPN or PPTP. Protect yourself against the ISP 6 strikes rules. That is for you in America. In other countries, they're called different things, obviously. Bypass internet filtering, blocked websites, geographical restrictions for internet content and online video with worldwide servers in the US, UK, Asia, and more. Software for Windows and Mac, offering advanced controls allowing you to select the program supports you want to anonymously route through ProXPN servers. ProXPN also works on iOS and Android, allowing you to use your data plan or public or Wi-Fi with complete and total privacy on the go. No app required, although I would like to point out that they now both have their own apps. So iOS and Android both have their own apps for ProXPN, and they do offer 24/7 customer support. All you need to do to support this show is to go to proxpn.com/podcast for more information and to sign up. TQA Weekly watchers and listeners also get a free 30-day risk-free trial. Remember to visit proxpn.com/podcast and sign up with the coupon code TQAWEE. ProXPN premium accounts are normally $9.95 a month, $74.95 for the entire year. We have a special offer. Use the coupon TQAWEE and we will give you 20% off the entire lifetime of your account of ProXPN. Thank you for watching, subscribing, listening, and if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe now. Let's see you all here next week. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to TQA Weekly. Show your support by liking this episode, subscribe to get our latest episodes as they come out, and share with friends and family who may benefit from such a show as this. You may send us your questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories to ask at tqaweekly.com. For our show notes, links to our Android application, alternate means of subscribing to our show, and information on joining our weekly newsletter, head over to tqaweekly.com. Stay safe and online, and have a great day.